attending St. Louis Science Awards dinner honoring outstanding women and men in science, engineering, and medicine in our St. Louis community. We are here to celebrate the remarkable accomplishments of those living and working in St. Louis County, dedication to those who teach science, and movement the next generation of scientists who represent such great promise for the future. Please join me. Thank you. This is a tough crowd. Please join me in recognizing the organizations and people who helped make this evening possible. First of all, the Academy Board of Trustees, particularly the new trustees this year, Robert Archibald from the History Museum, Michael Giuliani from Covidian, Jennifer Lodge of Washington University, Shelley Montier of St. Louis University, and Ken Wagner of Peabody. Also, our Platinum Table sponsors. Platinum Table sponsor Monsanto Company, Gold Table sponsors Boeing Company, Pfizer St. Louis, Washington University School of Medicine, and William H. Danforth. Our other generous table sponsors and patrons are listed in your program. We thank all who have donated to make it possible for students and teachers to be with us as well. And we also wish to thank our wonderful media sponsors, the St. Louis Business Journal and KWMU St. Louis Public Radio. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask you for it. So if you're not already an EAT member, please consider joining the EAT Society for a mere $500. At the beginning level, you can get invited to all sorts of cool stuff. You can use your contribution. As I said before, those other academies are not as old as we are, but they have more contributors. If you give enough, we'll even name something after you. Tonight's dinner recognizes outstanding individuals who have committed their lives to innovation. It is fitting that we begin our recognition with the next generation of scientific explorers. I'd like to introduce Mary Burke, the Academy's Executive Director, who will recognize our exceptional students and teachers.
And first of all, I'd like to say, anyone who has a nonprofit right now, what you really need at the helm is a good attorney. And so we're really thrilled to have Benjamin help us. The Greater St. Louis Science Fair and the Junior Academy are initiatives sponsored by the Academy to inspire tomorrow's scientists. 55,000 students are involved in the Greater St. Louis Science Fair Network. The middle and high school students from across the region participate in the Junior Academy of Science. Many of you help bring science to life by opening up your laboratories, the behind-the-scenes places where these kids can find out what really means science to them. So many of these kids go to one of the Junior Academy events, perhaps sponsored in your place, and they come back and they say, I had no idea. I had no idea plants could be so interesting. I had no idea there was a place for me in medicine. These are the most exciting years. We especially love the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders because it's at that time in life when they're making those choices, where they're going to go next. They're deciding if they're going to take flunky math or if they're going to take algebra. And when they come back from those Junior Academy events, when they go to the zoo series, or they go to the History Museum, or the garden for one of our Future Check programs, and they're suddenly inspired to do a little better, then we know we're doing our job. So thank you, all of you, for what you do for all of these kids. Many of you in this room are actively involved in fostering the authentic science research by high school students. I know Ken Mears is here, and he does a remarkable job with STARS. And all of you have institutions that participate in STARS, and we want to say thank you so much to Ken for all that he does. You realize how vitally important it is to provide mentoring, lab space, and encouragement to these budding scientists. Some participate in the impressive STARS program, others receive special guidance by their teachers or family members, and there are always those self-directed students who contact the Academy or researchers on their own. We held the Greater St. Louis Science Fair Honors Division of Authentic Science Research at the Garden, and we'd like to recognize the top 3 students. You've seen their research posters in the reception area. They are indeed impressive. David Run Smith and Amy Meyer, you would please come up and join me. scholarships for their work. And we've asked David and Amy to each say a few words tonight. David is a junior at Ladue High School. His project, Optimizing Electron Intensity During Photoelectron Imaging of iodide, sorry, please, Tim. I'm a communicator. I'm not a scientist. Placed him in the top 3 projects of the honors fair. So, David, how about you first? Okay.
First, I would like to congratulate my fellow 2 competitors who got first and second. So, if we could give them a round of applause. I also did all of my research personally through the STARS program. So, being an excellent institution that allows high school students who might not otherwise get the opportunity, I'd like to thank the STARS program and the people that run it. So now maybe for some science. I don't want to either bore or excite you with talk about physical chemistry. Depending on your area of specialization, I'm sure you have differing opinions. But I would like to share one brief anecdote one striking moment for me from my research. And I work with a very particular instrument. If you can imagine the first computer, it fills an entire room. There are wires going everywhere, pipes hither and thither. That's pretty much what my instrument looked like. It was very intimidating, but I found one notebook in a storage room that sort of gave the story of how this instrument was originally created. And I read through this notebook, and it was really fascinating to me how the person who wrote the journal was talking about how, oh, we tried this today, it didn't work. We tried this today, it didn't work either. And they go through this long process, and it sort of puts myself in place that I'm one step, and that everyone working on this project just fills in one step of the greater research role. And I think that's very interesting in that science is a continual process, and I'm sure as science people, experts in your field, that you can appreciate that it is this continuous process which each one of us plays some small role in. And I think that's a very interesting and rewarding experience.
Amy Meyer is a senior at Oakville Senior High School. Her project, a study of types 1 and 2 diabetes using insulin gene microsatellites, garnered her second place honors. Amy will be representing our region at the International Science and Engineering Fair in San Jose next month.
Hi again, I'm Amy Meyer. I go to Oakville High School, which is in South St. Louis County. And again, my project received second place at the Honors Division Fair in February. And I'd just like to take a moment to talk about it. What got me interested in diabetes is the fact that I have a really extensive family history of it, and I've also been a type 1 diabetic for 11 years. So naturally, I'm interested in why I have it and how it's inherited. So when my teacher and I started doing research, we found out that there are actually over 20 mutations that cause diabetes, one of the most common being a variable number tandem repeat in the promoter of the insulin gene. And what that is, it's a sequence of DNA that repeats itself a certain number of times, and the length of that repeat determines one's predisposition to diabetes. If you have a shorter repeat, it's considered a class 1, and it's predisposing to diabetes. And then if you have a class 3, it's longer, and it's protective against diabetes. There is a class 2 intermediate size repeat, however, not really much initially when we started this project was known about it. All we could find in research is that it is rare in European descent Caucasians. So to apply that information to a project, we took DNA from my family and we isolated that repeating strand using primers, and then using gel electrophoresis, we figured out the length of the repeat in my family members. based on that, interestingly, we found that me, my dad, and his mom, my grandma, all have the rare class 2 gene, or the rare class 2 allele, and the predisposing class 1 allele. However, I'm the only one that has diabetes. So that means that it was protective, the class 2 allele that is rare and we don't know much about was protective for them but not for me, which leads us to believe that genetic imprinting is the source of my diabetes. And genetic imprinting is where maybe my grandma's family had this class 2 allele for generations, but it was passed through females until it got to my dad, and then it was passed to me, and it was expressed because it was from a male. So then the question is, why does my family have a class 2 repeat when I'm mostly European descent Caucasian? Well, we started looking into different backgrounds, and it turns out that Native Americans are more likely to inherit this allele than other backgrounds. So coincidentally, I happen to have very distant Cherokee on 3 out of 4 sides of my family, so we think that's probably why. So I'm hoping that maybe this research and tests like it could eventually lead to doctors being able to tell patients when they're predisposed to diabetes and what they can do to prevent it or to treat it earlier than